we're going to make some beautiful memories here in the next couple of days. So did you have fun last evening? Woo! Good, right. Well, I spoke with probably about, I think I counted like 80 wonderful ladies in last night. And it was amazing the diversity of creativity that you all bring to the table. You know, it's scrapbookers, quilters, sewers, artists, wedding planners, you know, party planners, the whole gamut of creativity. We have influencers here, bloggers, product experts, designers, you know, many of our business partners are very valued retailers, and most importantly, actually my amazing team, and most importantly, our amazing and some of our most loyal and passionate members, our customers. Thank you all for coming. Now together we reach, it's probably one of the most influential groups that have been put together in the creative industry. Together we reach, you know, we have the press here. Thank you all, thanks to the press here for coming. We have a reach of over 150 million people. So the word of the day is going to be innovate. I'm going to be here for about 30 minutes. And for those of you who know, that means about 2 hours. I'm going to talk about three things. I'm going to talk about my personal journey in arts and crafts and with Cricut. I'm going to tell you everything that Cricut is doing from an innovation perspective, how we've been innovating these last couple of years. And then we're going to launch a brand new line of cardstock. We've got some exciting product announcements. Well, I often get...
He's kidding.
My boss is sitting here. My team is like, he was not supposed to say any of this, right? So our chairman's sitting here, so he's like, wow, why did we hire him? So 5 years ago, so people often ask me about my crafting background and my technology background and how that's helped me drive innovation at Cricut. And I tell them that, you know, I had no crafting background when I joined 5 years ago. In fact, you know, I'm going to get in trouble with our customers, our retail friends. I had never stepped a foot in the door of a Joanne, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, or Walmart arts and crafts section, Amazon, HSN, you know, in the arts and crafts aisle. So doing a good job establishing credibility. And so my wife actually started taking me to these orientation tours, and you know, literally aisle by aisle, she would walk me through these stores. We spent a lot of time in stores before I even joined, and she literally started calling me her girlfriend. So we did all these years.
You're not going to be able to answer.
Right? So about 3 years ago. So no crafting background. My technology background doesn't help either. In fact, 3 years ago we had a launch event, a similar launch event, and we got incredible press. There's a wonderful article about Cricut and innovation, a very positive one. But the title of the article kind of summarizes how my tech background helped me, and it said, how when the female customers perplex tech CEO, that's me standing in a retail store. And then at the most vulnerable moment, I actually shared this with Katie Rosman, who was a reporter, and I said, I often come back home dejected, telling my wife I find my instincts completely wrong. So, you know, how do you leverage that? How do you come up with great products when you basically are saying you find your instincts completely wrong? Well, you go take classes, right? You go read books. You know, you go sit with your wife and ask her to show you sewing. Or you read very highly recommended books, like these, right? But you don't. No, you don't. The thing that you do is you immerse yourself in your consumers, in your members. And so that's my Facebook page, 5,000 friends on Facebook. And you know, as you know, your personal pages don't allow more than 5,000 people. And I think that more than 3/4 of this room is probably friends with me on Facebook. And it's those daily conversations, it's that immersion every day for an hours at a time, when you are listening, learning, agonizing, helping, and that's what gives you the right instincts. And actually, it's way bigger than me. It's my team, right? And we use every touch point, and Kim's going to talk about it, to come up with great insights and leverage them to innovate and come up with great products. So you got to love the industry, you got to have great instincts, and that's how you innovate. We're going to show you 3 incredible products today. And this industry is actually one of the easiest. I've been in many industries, from music to wireless security to entertainment control, number of other things. And this is one of the easiest industries to innovate in. In fact, there's never been a better time for innovation. The web has become a collage of photos. Mobile screens, every one of us has one. Let's put them in our pockets. And I cannot imagine a world without Instagram, Facebook, or Pinterest, where in an instant you can actually share it with your friends and family. So back in 2014, we launched a Cricut Explorer. We call it the new Cricut. And for us, it was not just a machine. It was a whole new way of thinking. And we had a really lofty aspiration for ourselves. We wanted to do something that Apple would do if they were to come in the creative crafts industry. So we were very pleased when we got a Forbes mention. I thought I was looking at a device designed by Apple. Elegant, and this is not to create Android iPhone caps. Elegant and fluid. The company clearly spends a lot of time thinking about the small things that consumers care about.
You got it.
Such as how it feels and how it sounds. We were very pleased with that. So Cricut Explorer also helped us get from a paper crafting, scrapbooking brand to a DIY category. And at the core of it was this user interface. We call it the smart dial. And all of a sudden, you could cut all kinds of materials, right? From vinyls to iron-ons to poster boards, even bonded fabric. We were a closed system. We could only use our cartridges. And we moved to that was our Achilles heel. And we moved to an open platform where any user could upload any SVG or many other formats for free. In fact, we don't know of any company, or at least if any companies, that allow you to upload their SVGs for free without buying their software. And as a result, we have 53 million images that have been uploaded over the last 4 years. And just in the month of June, we had 75 images a minute. 75 images a minute. Go get a life. Sorry. I just say that in jest. Okay. We also embrace mobile screens. We have this idea of ubiquitous access, and I still think that there's a lot of confusion about it. We wanted that irrespective of where you are, when you have a moment of inspiration, you could just pick up a screen and get to your projects. So if you are in the doctor's office, waiting in the parking lot, waiting at the airport, waiting for a meeting, you could literally just get on your iPhone, design something, and when you get back home, you're on your desktop. It's waiting for you. And the results being 27 million projects have been designed and cut.
Wow.
So I talked about how Cricut Explorer was a whole new way of thinking, right? And how the products are great, but actually it was way beyond products. It was about those magical moments, the special moments that we create in people's lives. And I've had so many stories from many of you saying, oh, I was going through this and this happened, or I wanted to throw a party. And it's amazing. At that moment, that feels like magic. I often tell my team, we don't build products, we create magic. let me share some moments with you. So Nicole Lawson on Facebook posted this a couple of years ago, and I have permission to say to talk about it. My husband is 32 years old and 100% permanent and total disabled veteran. Recently, he's been playing around with my Cricut Explorer, and to see him smile again and feel accomplished after he's finished the project warms my heart. That's magic. Let me share another one. So I got this email a couple of years ago. It's from Jane Hulk from Brampton, Ontario. And the title of the email said, I wanted to say thank you. And it's a long paragraph, but I'm going to read it out. And many of you could identify with this. I'm a teaching assistant who works with special needs kids, and my son, who is 10, has ADD. Almost every night, I am busy cutting all kinds of files that my special needs kids and my son would like, so I can make them into learning games. One of my students who has CP has now learned how to count to 3 and can recognize the words 1, 2, and 3. And he knows the letters S and M. I wanted to let you know that your machine is changing the way kids learn. This is Ken, I'm deleting your files.
Poor Ken.
Because the loudest product gets the most files. 3 files. Okay, so we're talking about that 24-inch paper cardstock. Okay. So, let's talk about some new products. Okay? Woo! So we had the dial, the smart dial had become our anchor point. We were obsessed about what people are cutting, and because it's a connected machine, we know all that. Right? And a huge majority of people were cutting vinyls and iron-ons. And we were fixated on cutting. And so much so that we lost focus on the big picture. And the big picture was that it's not just about cutting the vinyl. It's not about just cutting the iron-on. It's about putting that beautiful decal on your walls. It's about making that onesie for your niece's daughter. So we had a big idea. And the big idea was that instead of just focused on, cutting is a starting point. And what if you were to create products and services that allowed you to get from the time you were inspired to the time you could create something? So let's look at each point of the dial and start creating solutions and services and products around each position of the dial. So this first product that we just launched recently is a what we call the Cricut Write Pad. And for those of you who've done a vinyl project, know that after you have cut your vinyl, it's incredibly hard to read it. It takes like 15, 30, 45 minutes. And while some people find it therapeutic, most people find it painful. Right? The best way to apologize for not having innovation is just therapeutic. Right? So all of a sudden, if you have this super slim light pad underneath it, you can see the cut lines, and all of a sudden you can do it in less than a fourth of the time. Right? It's beautiful. You can also use this Cricut Write. This is the Cricut Write Pad. You can also use it for arts, arts and other hobbies. And I'm just going to show it to you for those who haven't seen it. It is the most beautiful thing that you will lay your eyes on. It's super slim. Tiffany's going to give it to me. It's so thin. It's like a giant iPad screen. It's got multiple levels of dimness. It's just beautiful. Oh, sorry. It's built strong.
Don't do that at home.
You want me to prove it to you?
Wow.
Thank you, Tiffany. So Cricut Write Pad, $79 we launched a few weeks ago. It's in 4 colors. Most all our retail friends are going to carry it. It is beautiful. It will help you in so many things you do. First announcement, Cricut right hat. Iron-ons. People, you are all cutting iron-ons, making tons of t-shirts. Everybody wants to make a t-shirt. Onesies, pillows, curtains. What else do you make? Who uses iron-on? Nobody in the room now uses iron-on. Take it off the diet. What do you make?
Tote bags.
Tote bags. What else?
Shoesies.
Shoesies. What else? There you go. Okay. So those of you, so many of you have done an iron-on, and you know that after you cut the film, you have to apply it in some kind of a heat device onto your fabric, right? And there are two kinds of devices that exist today. One is your home iron. It's convenient, it's safe, everybody has one. And then there's this really ugly press that literally actually belong to a factory or your garage. It's really bad. Like, it's horrible. And it's not safe, right? You have a 350-degree hot heat plate. You're putting your hands right underneath it. And how many burn marks do you see on the internet? We're actually coming out with a product that actually is an ointment to fix it. Okay. But let's talk about the other thing. So I'll explain this in a second. Okay? Many of you know that the challenge with applying your iron-ons to your fabric is consistent heating. And this is a thermal map of what a typical iron and a heat press look like. And if you look at an iron, and even a good iron, the difference of temperature between the lowest temperature point and the highest temperature point could be as high as 200 degrees. 200 degrees. And these films are incredibly temperature and time sensitive. They all need, and actually really also depends on what kind of what canvas that you're applying it to. So when you have a device that has 200-degree variance, that explains why you're constantly guessing, and it's frustrating. And even if you get it to stick, it falls off after you're washing it, right? Mm-hmm. On the other hand, a heat press, that same range of temperature is between 10 to 30 degrees. Most heat presses are 30 degrees variance, and really, really good heat presses. And you know why I'm talking about really good heat presses are 10 degrees. Right? And they have, unlike an iron, they have an onboard timer, most of them, and a digital temperature reading. So what we wanted to do, in the spirit of creating solutions around iron-ons, is to combine the speed and consistency of a heat press with the simplicity and convenience of an iron. And we came up with a beautiful product. I don't know how many of you really pay close attention to our window displays. It's beautiful.
It is.
We're calling it 103 images for them. Okay, that's good. It's a quick and easy press, and it's really easy. All you do is after you cut the iron-on design, you place it on the fabric, you adjust the temperature and time. It has an onboard timer and a temperature setting. You adjust the temperature, let it heat up, and it doesn't take as much. It's way faster than a typical heat press. You gently lay it on you put the iron-on design on your fabric, you lay the easy press on it, start the timer, press go, and in less than 60 seconds, you have a fantastic iron-on project that's going to stick even after 10, 20 washes. Talk about safety. It comes in a stand. It comes in a nested stand, we call it for safety base. And as the easy press is heating up, it's sitting in there contained from all sides. You do your designs, you put it right back. You never have your arm underneath it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Thoughtful. We've done a lot of research. If you don't believe me, you gotta believe this. It's so simple. This is something that actually used a heat press. It's so simple.
Totally amazing.
No more guessing on the time. and checking to see if the iron-on is sticking.
Wow.
You just set it on the iron and press go. Very cool. Oh, this one's my favorite. You know, one of my colleagues, Val, a lot of our employees are testing these products and they take it home. And Val took it home and she was using this, you know, testing it out, and her daughter was actually, Addie, who's 12 years old, was helping. That's not Addie. And this is a picture of Addie helping mom, you know, with these projects and testing. And she goes, I really hold it here until it beeps, and that's all. Hey, you get an endorsement of a 12-year-old, it's pretty awesome. And our general counsel is sitting here, our general counsel, Gordon Olson, sitting here, and just for full, you know, qualification, we do not recommend this product for kids. Cricut Easy Press, $149, launching in August in the retail.
Wow.
And now,
Dun, dun, dun.
third people that we talked about. Okay. The dial was amazing. All of a sudden, you all could just turn the dial and cut all kinds of materials that you couldn't cut before.
149.
But you wanted more. Always want more. Right?
49,
60,
I think.
70, 80 materials weren't enough. You wanted hundreds, thousands, right? You could cut a lot more textures, but you wanted more. You know, burlaps and fabrics and balsa woods. You know, you just wanted more.
Yes,
You
149
didn't want
is
just
right.
a couple of tools. You wanted a dozen tools. Plus you wanted more in the future. And most of all, you wanted infinite possibilities. Nothing between me and my imagination. Nothing between me and my creativity. You wanted to do, you didn't want to be told what you could do. You wanted to do more materials, more tools, more possibilities. So we looked at our current machine, you know, looked at our current technology, and we had to start over. We didn't have enough force. You know, Explore was one of the products with the highest forces in the consumer market today, or 300 grams of force. We needed way more than that. We have an X, Y, and a Z axis, so 3 axes of control. These are robotics, right? Effectively what you have is a robotics machine at work. And we needed to add way more axes of control. We needed to almost, my engineers don't like me saying this, but I'll say it. But we wanted to replicate the human hand. So more axes of control, more force, and we just did not, we love Explore. It's an amazing platform, it's going to be here for a long time. But it just didn't have the cutting materials, the cutting blades, the technology, and we wish we could have just extended it, but no, we had to start over. We've been working, you know, super hard these last 3 years. We've spent several tens of millions of dollars, hardware, software, content. We spent over 1 million+ hours in development. You know, everybody is very impatient. Like everybody's like, what is it gonna be? What is it gonna be? We waited over 1,000 nights. You know, I think it was like 1,172 nights when we started this thing. And so we waited. I kept telling people, we can wait one more night. It's okay. And you know, we put our hearts and souls in this product. Lots of personal stories, lots of personal sacrifices. It's a revolutionary new product. And I am super excited that you are going to be the first ones, other than our retail friends, to see it ever. I don't feel enough excitement. So we're going to innovate in an industry that has not seen any innovation in 3 decades, maybe even more. You know, we're going to take machines that cost tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars that are big, and Chuck will talk about it. And we're going to bring it to the consumer desktop, the power of mainframes to the personal computer. That's what it is, right? Machines that cost tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars and give you the power as a consumer to make things, democratize creativity.
But I'll get the information.
Paper that we've ever created. It seamlessly integrates. It seamlessly integrates hardware, software, and content. It's just amazing. And it's the most beautiful product. It's the most beautiful product that we've ever created. Those people really took my message seriously. Okay, it's a tool for every maker. You know, it's a tool for every maker. You know, human beings. I've got 7 slides to build up. You want to see it? I thought you were going to say anything.
Oh my God. Gorgeous.
You know, it's we've taken care of every little detail. We agonized, we thought over, we perfected. I'll do it quick. I'll do it 360 degrees. It's beautiful.
Oh, wow. That's gorgeous.
And you just open it. Welcome, Cricut Maker. I could do this all day. You know, it's taken a team to do this. I've shown you a small sliver of the capabilities of Cricut Explorer and what it can do for all of you. I'm going to invite my team here for a second. These are some of the most talented people that I've ever worked with in my entire career. They have led many of our teams around the world to make this happen. Chuck Siser, our head of products and brand. Tom Crisp, our head of design. And Kim Kanarowski, our head of product management.
so excited to tell you more about this Cricut Maker machine. But every time I watch that video, I get so emotional. So I get choked up. I watched it so many times. And it's so hard to watch because I'm so excited about what we're going to talk about here. But to start, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my 10-year-old daughter, Kendall. Kendall is a maker. She's always coming up with new ideas and starting a new project. She knits hats and scarves for her stuffed animals. She loves to sew clothes for her dolls and even makes accessories for our dogs, our poor dogs. She has to dress them up all the time so that they look fancy. She makes purses and wallets with duct tape and jewelry, necklaces and bracelets using beads and string. And through all of it, as a mom, it makes me so proud. I love to see that she's found this amazing way to express her creativity. I love that she has such a passion, not just for making stuff for herself, but making stuff for friends and family. And I love that she has so much pride when she finishes a project and it turned out the exact way as she planned, or she learns something new and does it for the first time. Every day, I see makers like you who have that same sense of accomplishment, that same inspiring creativity, and that same passion for making. In my role, I have many responsibilities, but my favorite thing to do is to get out of the office and start talking to consumers. So when we set down this journey in 2014, I was so excited to start the research. I could start talking to you and learning from you and figuring out what we should build and how we can make it amazing. And so we did so much and we learned so much. You went shopping with us in the stores and told us about the tools that you like. You invited us into your homes and shared your spaces and even crafted in front of us. And many of you were excited to come into our office where you could just share your passion for making and give us feedback on our products. And through all of this research, we hear so many stories, so many inspiring stories. The grandmother who wanted to keep her legacy by making quilts for each of her 9 grandchildren. The woman with MS who used crafting as a way to keep her mind and her hands busy when she could barely get out of bed. The mother who turned her favorite hobby into a passion and turned it into a business and started selling online. And the sisters who just loved their weekly craft afternoons so they could hang out and have some fun. And while everyone's story is a little bit different, we hear so much consistency in what you have to say and what you love about the craft industry and what you want to make. We hear that you're pressed for time and you wish you had time to craft more and you wish that you could make more. We also hear that you love learning new skills and trying new things and want to try so many new things. And we hear that you love sharing your passion with such an amazing group of makers, where you're just there to support and share one another. And while we do a lot of research, we wanted to make sure that we could make a machine for you that has all the capabilities of the Cricut Explorer and even more. That we could create a machine that can help you make even more in less time. And the best way for us to do that is to see what materials you can cut. This is one of the things that we can do. What can you cut with a machine? Because the more you can cut with your machine, the more you can make with the machine. So not only do we talk to consumers, but we send out a lot of surveys. And you've probably answered some in the past. Some can get a tad bit long. But it's because we have a lot to ask you, and there's a lot we want to know. And so when we're filling out the surveys, we've asked before, what materials do you want to cut? And one of the things that comes up on the list constantly is fabric. You want to cut more fabrics. You don't just want to cut fabric applique for your quilts or felt for your kids' crafts. You want to cut a full range of fabrics, everything from the most delicate silk and chiffon to thicker materials like jeans and canvas. Because your options today are not ideal. Most of you have to hand cut it. So you have 2 options. You can use a handheld rotary cutter for images with straight lines, or you can pull out the scissors anytime you have to do a curve or detail. And let's face it, most of you actually don't really enjoy the fabric cutting process. You'd rather spend your time doing what you love, which is sewing and assembling projects and bringing your stuff to life. But You got to cut the fabric because without the fabric, you can't do your project. And so we wanted to figure out how we can make it easier for you and better for you. And so with the launch of Cricut Maker, we're really excited to announce that you will have a new rotary blade. Ashish mentioned before it took us a long time to do this. Well, it turns out getting a rotary blade onto this machine is not that easy. We thought you could just stick a blade on and it would work, but engineers told us, no, you have to re-architect the entire thing. You need to build this from the ground up, figure out how you can make the system control the blade. And so after over 3 years of design, development, and testing, we were able to bring this amazing machine to you with its amazing functionality. Now, we have complete level control over this blade. We can control it when it's going left, right, up or down, cutting clockwise or counterclockwise. It knows which direction the blade is facing when it starts a cut, and it tells the blade to pick up and turn when it hits a sharp corner. All of these are critical when you're cutting different fabrics. And so with this new technology, you can cut so many different types of fabrics. Actually, you can cut hundreds of different types of fabrics. So let me put that in perspective for you. In this room, there are 270 different seats. And when you walked in, you may have noticed every seat has a cushion on it. And every cushion has a different fabric. And every one of these fabrics can be cut on a Cricut Maker machine. Wow. So stand up, look around, check out the fabrics you see around you. There's chiffon, and
Cut with the rotary blade. Look over here, fish.
I said thank you.
Wow, that's amazing.
This is kind of a really
Totally amazing, Shannon.
Oh, this would be good.
I'm sorry, you guys. I keep losing my connection.
We wanted to do more. We just didn't want to enable you to cut hundreds of fabrics. We wanted to look at your whole experience. We wanted to figure out how we could revolutionize the sewing experience. So let's talk a little bit about the process you have to go through. Anyone made a sewing pattern before? Anyone used one? Well, using a sewing pattern can be difficult at times. It's really time consuming. And if you're new to sewing, it's quite intimidating. So let's think about the process. You get this packet with this huge piece of tissue paper. And you lay it out, and there are all these different pieces on the tissue paper. And you have to figure out which of the pieces go to the project you have, because a lot of the patterns come with multiple projects. So you figure out what pieces you need, then you need to figure out what those pieces are for, then you need to figure out what fabric you need to use for those pieces. And by the time you have this all figured out, it's time to start cutting. So you cut the tissue paper, then you need to take that tissue paper and pin it to your fabrics. I have yet to meet anyone that likes the pinning process. So you can tell me if you enjoy it, but I haven't met any of you yet. Don't like the pinning process, but you gotta do it. It's part of the process. And then once everything's pinned, you then pick up the scissors again and you start cutting each of the fabrics to make sure they're as accurate as possible. But because you're doing this by hand, it's so hard to make each of these cuts precise.
Mm-hmm.
We often talk about in the office how long it takes you to go through this process to get, so you can even get to the sewing. So I decided to test it myself. I wanted to see how quickly I could cut a sewing pattern for a 12-inch doll. I was racing the clock, so I wasn't taking any time to think about things, I just went for it. It took me 1 hour and 17 minutes to be able to cut all the pieces of this pattern. And then out of the 17 minutes, I would rather spend doing something else. So I'm going to bring this back again to my daughter, Kendall. So I mentioned before, Kendall loves to sew. And about a year ago, she was sewing a doll for her American Girl doll dress with her cousin Alexa. And Alexa's older, so she was really nice. She cut the pattern. She did all the hard work. It took her 1 hour and a half. Kendall was pretty bored while she was waiting because she's 10 years old. And then when the pattern was cut, Kendall got to sew the entire thing, which was the fun part. After Alexa left, Kendall came up to me and was like, Mom, I didn't have to cut these patterns, I would sew so much more frequently.
Right.
And then she looked at me and said, why can't the Cricut just do it for me? Why do I have to do this myself? So little did she know then, and she still doesn't know today because I was sworn to secrecy, that we were coming out with the Cricut Maker machine so that you can now cut fabrics. And that we also knew there had to be a better way than hand cutting all of these sewing patterns. So with the launch of Cricut Maker, we are also launching a library of hundreds of sewing patterns directly into the All you have to do is find a project you like, click Make It, and start cutting. It is so easy and so fast. And when we launch this library of projects, we're going to have tons of Cricut projects in there. We'll also have 2 amazing partnerships with experts in the sewing industry to bring you this pattern. You'll see hundreds of simplicity projects in our library of patterns. And it's stuff you've probably seen before in the store, you may have even made yourself. We're going to have purses and bags and headbands and flowers and stuffed animals and doll clothes. All of these and so much more will be on our pattern library. We also are partnering with Riley Blake Designs. We will have many quilts in our library, and these quilts aren't just the quilt patterns, but we'll also have some beautiful fabrics that coordinate with each other that are designed to work with these quilt patterns. Let me show you how easy it is to do this. You go in the Cricut design space, you scroll through, you find the project that you like. You select the project, and then you see all the details of this project. A beautiful hero shot, a description of the project, all the materials you need to make this project, and detailed sewing instructions that you need to assemble it once you've cut it. You click Make It, and you get to the mats, and everything is already laid out for you. We have done all the hard work of figuring out which of the pieces need to be in which of the fabrics, how do we turn those pieces so we optimize the fabric, we use as little as possible, and how everything is turned so it works with the grain of the fabric. So easy. So back to the pattern I hand cut. The doll on the left is the one I hand cut, and again, it took me an hour and 17 minutes. I wanted to try to do this with Cricut Maker machine last week. Here's what we got. To cut it on Cricut Maker, it took 15 minutes. And it's not just cut this pattern, but also mark all of the pieces, so you know how it all fits together. And the best part about it is these cuts are so accurate that you know when you go to put it together, it's going to fit together because everything's been done the right way. So I've been so excited to share with you. As Ashish said, we've had to wait 1,170 something days to start talking about this. But hopefully you're really excited about the new features coming, and Chuck Siser is going to come up here and tell you even more about the Cricut Maker.
Thanks, Kim. Wow. It's great to see you all. I'm totally nervous. So, Kim's a really hard act to follow because she just told you all how Cricut Maker completely revolutionizes sewing crafts. I mean, that's incredible. That sounds really good. So, do you think we should stop there? No! Sure. No, of course not. You want more, right? Yeah. You want to try more materials, you want to explore, you want to add new dimensions to your craft. So let's talk a little bit about that. Many of you come to us all the time. We see it on Facebook. Ashish tells me about it in the middle of the night. About how you want to add more dimension and depth to your projects. And one of the best ways to do it is to cut thicker materials. So thicker materials work with all the projects we do right now. You know, things like signage and cards and home decor, because it really allows those projects to pop, right? You're able to add that extra depth. But they also enable new kinds of projects, things that we haven't really tried before, like light woodworking, puzzles, models, leather jewelry, things like that. So we started thinking about this problem and listing off the materials that we thought we would need to support these kind of crafts. So we were thinking about heavy chipboard and mat board, balsa wood, heavy leather, even basswood. Now, these are some pretty tough materials. How do you guys cut these kinds of materials right now? X-Actos and saws, yes, saws. A bunch of specialty materials like big utility knives, probably, right? Some of you might even get into power tools. Like, has anyone tried a Dremel before? Yeah. So these materials are hard to work with, and all these tools, they work, but you've got to learn how to use them. It's really hard to do them precisely and consistently. And of course, there's a safety factor too, right? They're pretty dangerous. So I was going to tell you a little bit about an experience I had, a making experience. I was going to talk about making my son. So this is my boy, and his making material of choice is Lego. But he had a special request for me last fall. He wanted me to make a special Halloween costume. He wanted to be a Pokemon. Everybody know what a Pokemon is? Yeah, it's pretty popular. Of course, I didn't know a whole lot about it at the time, and I'm like, sure, no problem. I'll help you make a Pokemon costume. How hard can it be, right? So I said, well, which Pokemon do you want to be? And he showed me this. And you know, at this point, I'm like totally regretting. Yes, right? And I was like, well, you know, you want that like on a T-shirt or something? So you've got this really cool print and cut feature out here. I told you about it, but get this printable iron-on material. It'd be totally awesome. No. He wanted to be this character. For those of you who can't see it, it's a large orange dinosaur / dragon thing. Okay. Charizard, yes. There you go. It's Charizard. So, all right. I was like, okay, we'll figure this out. We started putting together an action plan. We started collecting some materials. We're going to use some structural materials like cardboard and mat board, and we're also going to use some nylon webbing, and then of course foam, quite a bit of foam. And we started sketching this thing out, and then I started going through my tools, you know, X-Acto knives, saws, various types of tools, and we started working on this thing. And how many of you have been in this sort of situation? This is, yeah, my entire garage is full of crap. And we're in there, and I've got like sharp tools everywhere, and my son's sitting over me, he's like, oh, that's cool. What are you doing now? And is that sharp? Can I use that? And when are you going to be done anyway? And shouldn't your machine be doing this work? So we're in here, and I'm pulling out the knives, and I'm starting to cut here. I'm making some patterns, and it just reminded me, like, what a royal pain in the butt using X-Acto knives. I mean, it sucks. So these blades, they need to be really sharp in order to work when you're trying to cut a tough material, and you got to change the blades all the time, right? Because they're constantly getting dull, and you've got to apply a ton of pressure to the tool in order to get it through. And you can't just cut it once, you got to do multiple passes, right? And each pass has to be in the right place, otherwise it goes off track. You're screwed, and you're wasting material. And even if you can do all these things, when you get to details, really small details, you don't have a ruler or a guide for small details, and you're in there, trying to cut these really accurate cuts. It's really, really hard. And it's really hard to do all of this stuff safely, too. So that's the challenge that we faced when we were trying to figure out, how to cut these kinds of materials with our machine. And it took a few years, a lot of experimentation, but we came up with an answer, and it's called the knife blade. This blade is our biggest, baddest, toughest blade ever. It's totally awesome. Just like the rotary blade, it has all these same degrees of control. We can move it up and down, left and right, and then it's got that big gear on the top, which tells you that we actively control the orientation of that blade at all times. That means that no matter where it's cutting, it's going to stay right on the path. It's not going to wander off course. So control is incredibly important in a blade like this, but you need more than that. You also need power. So this machine is 10 times more powerful than the Cricut Explorer line. So we're applying 4 kilograms of force. You need that power in order to cut these thicker materials, right? You need a lot of power. I mean, a lot of you have experimented with these kind of materials in the past, you know what I'm talking about. And then you need a little intelligence too. So if you're cutting a thick piece of material that takes multiple passes, you know that to get the best cut, you can't start with heavy pressure right away, right? You need to start with a lighter scoring pass. Yeah. And then when you get into the middle of the material, you got to apply a little more force, maybe more in successive passes. And then when you get to the end, maybe lighten it up a bit because you're trying to get that last clean cut before you separate out the materials. Well, what we've built is a system where for every material that Cricut Maker cuts, we optimize the pressure for each pass. So we start light, we get heavier, and then we lighten up if we need to. What that means is you're going to get the cleanest cut possible in these materials. And there's a side benefit too. By doing this and being as careful as we can with it, we're able to optimize the life of the blade too. So you're not changing out the blades all the time like you do with an X-Acto blade. That's pretty nice. So with the knife blade, we're able to do things like this.
Help.
I've been building up to that. Oh, pretend that didn't happen. You can cut materials like this because the knife blade can cut materials up to 2.4 millimeters thick. Wow. That's 3/32 of an inch. That's some serious balsa wood if you're going to look for it. And these kinds of projects are just the beginning. Okay? We're really looking at all of you to help us figure out what every application knife blade is tailor-made for. So, we didn't have a knife blade when I was making this costume. I sure wish we had had it there because it was a royal pain in the neck. But next time, maybe Pokemon, if you're out there, we'd like to do a deal with you. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about a slightly different subject. You've seen 2 really cool blades, rotary blade and knife blade. You can probably tell they share a lot of characteristics. They're big, they're pretty beefy, they've got that big gear on the top, so we can control everything that totally expand your project possibilities. But why stop there? Now, suppose we could give you a system where, as we developed new tools in the future, they just all worked on the same machine. That'd be a pretty good trick. So that's what expandability is. When you've got a platform where you know you're building stuff in the future that you know will fit. And so we spent a lot of time thinking about this problem. This is an example of a commercial flatbed cutting machine. If any of you have ever been to signage expos or shops, you may see machines like this. They're huge. Some of them are as big as this stage, and they're incredibly powerful and versatile, and really, really impressive machines. You can see they've got that big carriage on top, and they're modular, so they're expandable, right? Like you can put a whole bunch of different tools into these machines, and you know, incredibly impressive. However, they are commercial machines, which means they fit in a commercial environment. They're not exactly made for the home. Plus, they're huge, and they take a long time to learn how to use. They've got complicated software. They're very hard to set up. Even swapping tools is, you know, a serious effort. And then, of course, I mean, they're expensive. They're tens of thousands of dollars. So I was looking at a machine at a show not all that long ago. It was an $8,000 machine. Now it's like, oh, well, hey, this one isn't that expensive. How much force can this one put down? And the guy said 1 kilogram. I'm like, ha! That's nothing. So these machines are great, but our challenge was to figure out how to take the expandability and characteristics of a professional machine and bring it to the home for a reasonable price. And that's the adaptive tool system. This is our core technology that works with all the tools for Cricut Maker plus new tools in the future. It brings together active steering with the blade, just like you've seen. It also has 10 times the power, 4 kilograms of cut force. And it includes intelligent variable pressure. And all of this comes together in a system that is expandable and gives you professional class performance, but with the simplicity and price point of Cricut. Cricut Maker works with all the tools you already have. It works with all of Cricut Explorer's tools. You can see on the left there's the very familiar fine point blade and deep point blade. On the right, just a few of the examples of the pens, the many pens that we offer. The pen in the middle is a new washable fabric marker pen. Of course, we've got our scoring stylus and then our 2 star new tools, the rotary blade and the knife blade. All of these are compatible with Cricut Maker. But we're not going to stop there. We have the future to think about too. So when you've got an expandable system, what that means is you've got a system that grows with you in the future, so that you don't have to buy a whole new machine when you want to add new features and functionality. So with Cricut Maker, while we can't show you all the new tools we're working on them already today, and we really can't wait to show you what we've got. So let's give you a few details about Cricut Maker. It's going to be available on August 20th in many of our retail partners.
My birthday.
The price point is $399. It includes a rotary blade and a fine point blade in the box. Like I mentioned, it's going to be generally available August 20th, but there's also a special presentation of Cricut Maker on HSN, which is going to happen on August 3rd, or October 3rd, excuse me. The knife blade is going to be, it's coming out a little bit later, and it's going to be sold separately. So we're expecting the knife blade will be available in retail in October this year. So, you guys want to see how it works? Yeah! Let's check it out.
feels like many years ago now. And speaking to so many of you last night, what struck me was that Cricut Explore was not just an object. It wasn't just something we made and that was it. Like it had a soul and had a life of its own. It was like we gave birth to it and we sent it out into the world and it just did amazing things, right? Like it's changed people's lives and it's made a difference. Incredible to watch. It's been beautiful to see the things that you make with it. You surprise me all the time. I'm sneaky. I'm on all your Facebook groups and you don't know.
We know.
I'm always inspired by what you make. You're way better than me at craft. And I cannot wait to see what you make with this new machine. Now, unlike Chuck and Kim, I don't have any kids. But tonight I'm a very proud parent. This is my baby. Isn't she beautiful? I think it's going to look absolutely stunning in your workspaces, in your craft rooms. And in a few minutes, you're going to be one of the first people in the entire world to see this up close and personal. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to walk you through some of my absolute favorite design features. Some of the things you may have seen in the video but maybe glossed over. Some of the things that are kind of so subtle that I'd like to point them out to you. We've worked so hard on this and there are so many details. I could speak for 45, 50 minutes on this, but I'll make it really quick so I know you're dying to see the machine. So the first thing is, you open it, like so. There's no open button, there's no dial. We've actually taken away everything that gets in the way of this becoming the ultimate smart cutting machine. It's so simple, it's so pure. One of the first things you may notice is that groove along the top, and that is a place to put your cell phone. Seems like a small thing, right? But if you're anything like me, even if you have the best intentions, you start off a project with a really clean desk. And you're like, I'm going to be organized this time. You're like a chef. And then you get into the zone and you get creative and you get busy on something, right? My desk is chaos at the end of every night. I'm always losing something, so I'm not expecting you to keep your phone here all the time, but when you need it, that's where I can go. You'll like this next one. There's a charging port. By the time it gets to about 6 p.m. in the evening, I'm crashing hard, but I know from many of you last night, and I've seen on your Facebook posts, you like working late at night, some of you, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's your quiet time, that's a bit of me time? No kids. No kids. Yeah, exactly. So, if you have the energy now, so does your device, and you can keep the party going. You don't have to stop just because you run out of juice. Now, there are small details that make a big difference in your life because you use them every day, and one of them is tool cups. You spend a lot of time thinking about something as simple as a tool cup. So on Cricut Maker, there's actually two. So there's one at the back which is deeper and larger than we've ever done before, and that's ideal for pens and taller objects. There's one at the front which is actually very shallow. And that one at the front is for small objects, so you can retrieve them really easily. One of the hidden features that is quite hard to spot is that the bottom lining of the tool cap is lined in a thin sheet of rubber. So that when you drop in sharp, pointy tools, you don't damage your tip, right? Yeah. So those are really good. Speaking of storage, we've re-engineered the storage in the front door. Now, it was a nice feature on Explore, and when we've been into your homes, we've seen how useful that's been, and they're filled to capacity. So we re-engineered the hinge, and it took us some long nights, some late nights, some weekends, a lot of head scratching in the office, but what it means for you is that you can put anything you like in there, and you don't have to worry about how it layers. You don't have to play Tetris anymore. You don't have to worry about whether things are overlapping. Just throw stuff in the drawer, close it out, and go. One of the little hidden features among many on this product is that the inside lining of this storage door has a beautiful diamond pattern. It's because it doesn't matter that it's just storage, right? Like you can design everything beautifully, and that's what it deserves. Alright, let's zoom in on the corner of this lid here, because the lid is one of my favorite small details. It's a beautiful piece of aluminium, I'll say it my way. It's a beautiful piece of aluminium. It's been anodized champagne color, so it's somewhere between silver and gold, and depends on the lighting in your room, you're going to see it in lots of different ways, and it may change throughout the day. And the edge of that champagne anodized beautiful piece of real metal has been diamond polished to bring out the chamfer. So you'll get that lovely little glint of chromium. And here's something that looks about 18 feet across on the screen, but in actual fact it's the size of my fingernail. And this is the detail on the top of the rotary tool and the knife blade that Chuck and Kim have been sharing. So when you design the smallest details as if they're a really big deal, as if they're the biggest details, that's when you know you're doing something special. That's when you know you're making something that you love. So from all of the product team, thank you.
First, I wanted to acknowledge the Cricut team. Many of them are here today, and a lot of them couldn't make it because they're hard at work supporting our customers and building new products, keeping the business running. But this is several hundred people who've really put a ton of time into launching this product and making it ready and making it the best product that we can possibly make. And they've spent a lot of time away from their families in cases. They've spent time on the road, a lot of late nights and weekends. Thank you so much for everything. So none of our employees worked harder than former engineer Steve Bandis, who was instrumental in developing Cricut Maker and is sadly no longer with us. We are really fortunate to have his wife here, Debbie. Debbie, are you here? And his Debbie's sons, I believe, and maybe special fiancés, wives, are here too. Thank you so much for coming. I really think Steve would have been proud. I'd also like to thank our partners who are here with us today, partners from the press, our retail partners, our new strategic partners from Simplicity and Riley Blake, and Anna Griffin and HSN. You all make our business possible. Thank you so much for helping us. And most importantly, thanks to you, our customers. ones who drive us with your experiences and your stories to do the best that we can. So thank you so much. So I just have a few public service announcements before we move on to the next step. In a moment, we're going to open the curtains, and you're going to get to see Cricut Maker for the very first time in the flesh. The first people to get to see it. Just a few things to keep in mind when you're doing it. So when the curtains open, there's going to be a bunch of machines on different tables. You don't have to go to one table. You can. We would recommend that you go to as many tables as possible. There's going to be Cricut team members next to all the different machines, and they'll all be able to talk about different features of the machine. So move around as much as you can, ask a lot of questions, touch nothing. Ask lots of questions and take lots of photos. I've been told to remind you to leave your seat cushions here. And we just ask that you come back by 10:45 back to this room where we'll continue the general session. So who wants to see Cricut Maker?
Everybody. Just a bit. Bye bye.